Good morning.
Good morning.
How is everyone? Good?
Good.
Good? Awesome. Okay. Today let's go over what we're going to be doing. We are going to start a unit on the Industrial Revolution. So I have a couple of objectives for you guys. The first one is to just gain a basic overview of the Industrial Revolution, how it started, sort of what it was, to start off this unit. And then also to understand the effects of the British Empire and how the British Empire really influenced the beginning of the Industrial Revolution. And so first we're going to do a KWL chart, and then we're going to go over some video and have a discussion about that. We're going to go over the British Empire a little bit and then wrap things up. Any questions? Okay. So, does anybody know what the KWL stands for in a KWL chart?
No.
No? Okay, well, I'm going to tell you. The K stands for what I know.
That's what I meant. Oh.
Oh! Clearly we're thinking of the two different types of no. Well, thank you, Cassidy, because you are correct then. Okay. Anybody know what the W stands for? Yes, Tom.
Is that what?
Exactly, it is what. Yes. And L. Any clues? Any ideas?
Would you like to know?
Yes. Or no. That is, ooh, that could be it, but I was thinking of what you learned.
What you learned.
And the W is sort of going along with what you just said, what you want to know. Okay, so can somebody tell me something that they know about the Industrial Revolution? Anything. Anything at all. Tom.
People got factories all of a sudden.
Okay. Anything else? Yeah, sure.
It caused pollution.
Cause pollution. Awesome.
That's supposed to be
Megan? What's one of our number one rules? I think it's respect. And so right now I need you to respect myself and others. Thank you. Anything else? What else do you guys know? Yeah, yes.
They made a lot of stuff.
Yes, they did make a lot of stuff. Do we want to say production, maybe?
Yeah.
Okay. Is there anything else that you guys know? Yeah.
And they had kids work.
Yes. Child labor. How fun. Anything else? Yeah, Tom.
People got more wealthy because
Yeah,
having factories. And
Yeah.
child labor,
definitely. So
production,
we'll say
pollution.
one more thing. Does anybody else have? Yeah.
Transportation.
Yes. Awesome. New types of transportation. Okay. Then, is there anything that you guys would like to know about the Industrial Revolution? We'll keep this chart up for the course so we can keep seeing if what we have learned is what you wanted to know. Yeah.
Why it happened?
Okay. Anything else? Yeah.
What it changed.
Ooh, that's a good question. Okay. Anything else? Okay. That's a very good start. So, like I said, right now we're going to watch a video. I'm going to stop it kind of periodically through so we can discuss. It's kind of funny, kind of a little like random, and it's a crash course in 11 minutes, so it goes through, he talks like super fast and goes through things really quickly. So keep your eyes and ears watching and listening. It's also by the guy who does this is an author by the name of John Green. I don't know if you know him. He wrote Looking for Alaska and A Fault in Our Stars, so it's kind of funny, and says a lot of random funny things. So, yeah. Okay.
Hi, I'm John Green. This is Crash Course World History, and today we're going to discuss the series of events that made it possible for you to watch Crash Course. And also made this studio possible, and made the warehouse containing the studio possible. A warehouse, by the way, that houses stuff for warehouses. That's right, it's time to talk about the Industrial Revolution. Although it occurred around the same time as the French, American, Latin American, and Haitian revolutions between, say, 1750 and 1850, the Industrial Revolution was really the most revolutionary of the bunch. No way, dude. All those other revolutions resulted in, like, new borders and flags and stuff. We've studied 15,000 years of history here at Crash Course Meet from the past, and borders and flags have changed plenty, and they're going to keep changing. But in all that time, nothing much changed about the way we disposed of waste, or located drinking water, or acquired clothing. Most people lived on or very close to the land that provided their food. Except for a few exceptions, life expectancy never rose above 35 or below 25. Education was a privilege, not a right. In all those millennia, we never developed a weapon that could kill more than a couple dozen people at once, or a way to travel faster than horseback. For 15,000 years, most humans never owned or used a single item made outside of their communities. Simone Bolivar didn't change that, and neither did the American Declaration of Independence. You have electricity? Industrial Revolution. Blueberries in February? Industrial Revolution. You live somewhere other than a farm? Industrial Revolution. You drive a car? Industrial Revolution. You get 12 years of free formal education? Industrial Revolution. Your bed, your antibiotics, your toilet, your contraception, your tap water, your every waking and sleeping second. Industrial Revolution. Here's one simple statistic that sums it up. Before the Industrial Revolution, about 80% of the world's population was engaged in farming to keep itself and the other 20% of people from starving. Today, in the United States, less than 1% of people list their occupation as farming. I mean, we've come so far that we don't even have to farm flowers anymore. Are these real, by the way? Can't tell if they're made out of foam or digital. So what happened? Technology. Here's my definition. The Industrial Revolution was an increase in production brought about by the use of machines and characterized by the use of new energy sources. Although this will soon get more complicated, for our purposes today, industrialization is not capitalism, although as we will see next week, it is connected to modern capitalism. And the Industrial Revolution began around 1750, and it occurred across most of the earth, but it started in Europe, especially Britain. What happened? Well, let's go to the thought bubble. The innovations of the Industrial Revolution were intimately interconnected. Like, look for instance at the British textile industry. The invention of the flying shuttle by John Kay in 1733 dramatically increased the speed of weaving, which in turn created demand for yarn, which led to inventions like the spinning jenny and the water frame. Soon these processes were mechanized using water power until the steam engine came along to make flying shuttles really fly in these huge cotton mills. The most successful steam engine was built by Thomas, they didn't name anything after me, Newcomen, to clear water out of mines, and because water was cleared out of those mines, there was more coal to power more steam engines, which eventually led to the fancying up of the Newcomen steam engine by James I Got a Unit of Power and a University named after me, Watt, whose engine made possible not only railroads and steamboats, but also ever more efficient cotton mills. And for the first time, chemicals other than stale urine, I wish I was kidding, were being used to bleach the cloth that people wore. The first of which was sulfuric acid, which...
Okay, we're just going to pause it there just because it keeps going and it's really, really fast. So, okay, what do you guys, anything that surprised you, anything that you've learned just so far in the video? Yeah.
Everything about modern life is from the Industrial Revolution.
Exactly. So do you guys think that the Industrial Revolution was important or not? Yes. It definitely had a huge effect. Anything else that you learned or surprised you? Yeah, Austin.
People used to wash their clothes and feet.
This is true. It is very true. Good thing we're not living back then. I don't know about you, but I wouldn't want to do that. Anything else? Yeah.
It really started in Great Britain.
Exactly. Yeah, so that may surprise you. America did not start this. It actually started over in Europe. Awesome. Okay. Okay, if we keep going, any other questions, comments, concerns? Yeah, Austin.
What's mechanization?
Mechanization. That's a great question. Do you remember when he said that, you know, everything was really about agriculture and back to land? Really, mechanization was when people started to build factories and machines, then they could produce things at a lot faster rate, and everything wasn't really about agriculture anymore. It was about making products. Okay? Any other questions? Can I go to the bathroom? Yes. Ready? Keep going.
Was created in large quantities only thanks to lead-lined chambers, which would have been impossible without lead production rising dramatically right around 1750 in Britain, thanks to lead foundries powered by coal. And all these factors came together to make more yarn that could be spun and bleached faster and cheaper than ever before, a process that would eventually culminate in $18 Crash Course Mongol shirts available now at dftba.com. Thanks, Thoughtful, for that shameless promotion of our beautiful, high-quality t-shirts, available now at dftba.com. So the problem here is that with industrialization being so deeply interconnected, it's really difficult to figure out why it happened in Europe, especially Britain. And that question of why turns out to be one of the most contentious discussions in world history today. For instance, here are some Eurocentric reasons why industrialization might have happened first in Europe. There's the cultural superiority argument that basically holds that Europeans are just better and smarter than other people. Sometimes this is formulated as Europeans possessing superior rationality. By the way, you'll never guess where the people who make this argument tend to come from, unless you guess that they come from Europe. And then others argue that only Europe had a culture of science and invention that made the creation of these revolutionary technologies possible. Another argument is that freer political institutions encouraged innovation, and strong property rights created incentives for inventors. And finally, people often cite Europe's small population, because small populations require labor-saving inventions. Oh, it's time for the open letter?
Okay, what do you guys think about those 4 reasons? Do you remember them?
I mean, if the Industrial Revolution started there, then I guess they're right. Europeans have to be smarter, right?
That's a good question. Yeah.
I agree with freer political institutions being able to be more inventive, their citizens being able to be more inventive, just because if you were to have a certain political institution like a dictatorship, they're going to really delay what the people living within the country are going to be able to do.
Interesting. You bring up a really good point. And we'll probably learn more about that as we head into communism and World War II and stuff. But yeah, definitely democracy has a huge effect on the way people can industrialize and capitalization and such.
Wasn't the U.S. freer than Europe?
Well, at this time, the Industrial Revolution started in the 1700s, before the American Revolution. So at this time, we were actually an American colony. So we basically belonged to Europe. So we weren't a free country yet. But that's an awesome question. Thank you for bringing that up. All right. Yeah, Tom.
Small populations, that doesn't have to be true. Because you can have a small population that exists for a long time with its own resilience.
That's true. That's true. I like to think that it's a combination of a lot of these factors, not necessarily just a small population. Because if you look at, there's still indigenous people all over the world that clearly have not modernized. But I think a combination of a lot of those factors. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Then we're gonna keep going a little bit. Let's see. This one is kind of stupid.
Steam engine. You know what's crazy? You've never really been improved upon. Like this thing, which facilitates time travel, probably runs on a steam engine. Almost all electricity around the world, whether it's from coal or nuclear power, just a steam engine. It's all still just water and heat, and it speaks to how truly revolutionary the Industrial Revolution was, that since then, it's really just been evolution. Best wishes, John Green. So you may have heard any of those rationales for European industrialization, or you may have heard others. The problem with all of them is that each time you think you're at the root cause, it turns out there's a cause of the root cause. To quote Leonardo DiCaprio, James Cameron, and coal mine operators, we have to go deeper. But anyway, the problem with these Eurocentric why answers is that they all apply to either China or India or both. And it's really important to note that in 1800, it was not clear that Europe was going to become the world's dominant manufacturing power in the next 100 years. At the time, China, India, and Europe were all roughly at the same place in terms of industrial production. First, let's look at China. It's hard to make the European cultural superiority argument because China had been recording its history since before Confucius, and plus there was all that bronze and painting and poetry. It's also kind of difficult to make a blanket statement that China was economically inferior to Europe since they invented paper money and led the world in exports of everything from silk to China. I mean, pre-industrial revolution, population growth was the surest sign of economic success, and China had the biggest population in the world. I guess that answers the question of whether they're digital. It's also difficult to say that China lacked a culture of invention when they invented gunpowder and printing and paper and arguably compasses. And China had more free enterprise during the Song Dynasty than anywhere in the world. Some argue that China couldn't have free enterprise because they had a long history of trying to impose monopolies on items like salt and iron. And that's true, but when it comes to enforcing those monopolies, they also had a long history of failure. So really, in a lot of ways, China was at least as primed for an industrial revolution as Britain was. So why did it happen? Well, Europeans, specifically the British, had two huge advantages. First, coal. When you trace the story of improved transportation or communication or industrial efficiency or better chemical manufacturing, it always comes back to coal. Because the Industrial Revolution was all about using different forms of energy to automate production. And England had large supplies of coal that were near the surface, which meant that it was cheap to mine, so it quickly replaced wood for heating and cooking and stuff. So that encouraged the British to look for more coal. The only problem with coal mining, aside from it being, like deadly and everything, is that the coal mines flooded all the time. I guess coal mining is also a little problematic for the health of the planet. But because there was all this incentive to get more coal out of the ground, steam engines were invented to pump water out of the mines. And because those early steam engines were super inefficient, they needed a cheap and abundant source of fuel in order to work, namely coal, which meant they were much more useful to the British than anyone else. So steam engines used cheap British coal to keep British coal cheap, and cheap British coal created the opportunity for everything from railroads to steel, which, like so much else in the Industrial Revolution, created a positive feedback loop. Because they run on rails, railroads need steel, and because it is rather heavy.
Okay, we're going to pause right there for now because we're going to talk a lot more about transportation in the next couple days. But anything else that you learned or surprised you from that? Yeah, Cassie.
Evidently, the Europeans were not the smartest people in the world.
Why do you say that?
Because China had a lot of stuff going on too.
Exactly. So earlier you said one of his reasons that he mentioned was that Europeans at the time believed they were the best in the world, but now you realize that other cultures were just as advanced as Europe was, correct? Is that what you're saying?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Yeah, exactly. Anything else?
The Industrial Revolution leading to colonialism.
Ooh, that's a very good point. And actually, you segue right into my next thing. Anything else before we move on? Any other questions, comments, discussions, things that you saw? Cool, surprising. Anything? Okay. So, Austin, that is a great thing. I was just going to ask you guys, now that we are moving on to focusing on the British Empire, how many of you have heard the term "the sun never sets on the British Empire"? Yeah, a couple of you. Can either of you explain what that means, or do you know what it means?
They stole the sun.
Well, good guess. Not quite. Yes.
I mean, since the British Empire was located all around the world in basically 5 or 6 different continents, there would be a sun shining in one part of the British colony somewhere in the world at all times during the day.
Right, exactly. That's exactly it. The British Empire had colonies all over the world, hundreds of countries and territories, and so really they accumulated a lot of wealth in the world because they had so many natural resources. So if we were to define colonialism, can you guys come up with a definition? Yeah, Cassie.
Being in charge of another country.
Sort of, yeah, I would go along with that. Having control over another territory, and often do you think that these relationships are equal? As in, do you think that the mother country is equal to the territory that they own, or do you think that there's a little bit of a struggle of power?
Well, if you ask my mom, she and I aren't equal.
Exactly. So your mom sort of tells you what to do, like when to do chores, when you have a curfew, right? Well, that's how you can think of the British Empire. The British Empire really controlled their territories. If you think about the U.S. and Britain, because like Austin brought up before, the U.S. during this time was a colony of the British Empire, you know, we really had to basically do whatever the British said, hence the whole American Revolution and the Boston Tea Party and all of that good stuff. So exactly, so the British really had huge control on this. From the video, can anybody name some of the inventions that came up during this? Yeah, Tom.
Spinning Jenny.
The spinning jenny, exactly. The spinning jenny and the flying shuttle. Do you remember what industry that was in?
That was textiles.
The textile industry, exactly. So, thinking, now we're going to try and combine this. So, the British Empire had, Britain was huge in the textile industry. And they were also basically owned a huge portion of the world. Do you guys see a connection of how those things might be interrelated? Textiles and colonialism? Cass.
We are making what the British wanted.
Yes, exactly. Because if you think about it, the British owned had tons and tons of resources, right? So they can really get whatever they want from wherever they want. So that helped them in all their production. For instance, they also owned India at the time, and India had a huge amount of resources as well. Okay, so let's see. Anybody else want to add anything or have any questions? Nope. Okay. Then, let's see. I think we're going to wrap it up. Can somebody tell me something that they learned today? Tom.
Britain had a lot of cool.
Yes. Good. Okay. Anything else? Austin.
China didn't.
Good boy. China did not. Anything else?
Yeah. Steam engines are still used, kind of.
We'll say steam engines. Do you think that they were a big factor in the Industrial Revolution? Yeah. I would agree. Okay. Anything else? Nope. Okay. So I'm going to ask you guys a few questions just to wrap up, and then we will be done. Can somebody tell me in one sentence what the Industrial Revolution was, just to summarize?
I'll give it a shot.
Okay.
It's when people went from manual labor and just working for themselves to things being produced massively in something else.
Yeah.
I can't think of something else.
But you're on the right track, right? So it's basically the implementation of production and mechanization. Yeah, Cass.
The switch from agricultural life to urbanization.
Perfect. Perfect. That's exactly it.
I would have said that if I
Can somebody give me 2 reasons why the Industrial Revolution occurred in Britain? Hint, hint, you may have already put a couple of reasons on the board. Austin.
Britain had coal that was easily accessible.
Exactly. Anything else? Yeah.
They had a lot of colonies.
Exactly. Which leads me into my next question. Can you summarize in less than 3 sentences the effect that colonization had on the British Empire? Or, wait, the colonization had on the Industrial Revolution? There we go.
Because they had more colonies, they were able to advance more.
Perfect. Exactly. I would agree. And can somebody tell me 2, oh, we already went over 2 things that we learned today. Awesome. Okay. Is there anything that you still are wondering or confused about? No? Okay. Well then, we will meet again tomorrow.